Hi guys, it's just about 6 o'clock now. I'm just waiting for a minute. While I finish making sense of some of my notes. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the universal law number 6, which is the law of compensation. So if you've ever heard the term, you reap what you sow, you know, you give what you get what you give. So the law of compensation states that the law of compensation is the law of cause and effect, which we talked about last week, as it's applied to blessings and abundance that are provided for us in gifts, money, inheritance. You know, when we think of compensation, you think you go to work every day, you get a paycheck at the end of the week. So you're compensated for your time that you put into that, okay? But this also really applies to, you know, our friendships, our relationships, and everything that you could imagine as a blessing. Basically, you have to sow before you can reap, okay? You have to give before you can get. So I think we talked about last week the law of cause and effect, where, you know, the cause is your decision or the choice that you're making, and then the effect is obviously determined based on the choice and the decision that you made, okay? And we talked about how when you make a decision or you make a choice, or if there's something in your life that you're not happy with, that you just don't like, you don't like the way it's turning out, you know, you can, obviously you can't necessarily step back in time and change it, but because everything repeats on a cycle, the next time that a situation that's similar to that comes up, hopefully there will be a little light bulb that will click. And you might think to yourself in 45 seconds, if you don't have a lot of time, you know, last time I did this and this situation came up, I approached this a different way. Maybe I reacted a certain way, so maybe I'm going to change my reaction a little bit. And this is kind of, makes me understand it, because you want to be proactive in situations. You know, you don't want to be reactive. Hi, Janine. When we react to situations, it's not always the best thing. So you want to be proactive. So where we have the law of compensation and you reap what you sow, um, there's always people in our lives who always seem to have the best of everything, right? Um, always winning the prizes at raffles, always winning money on scratch tickets. My husband and my grandmother, always, always. Um, and so we tend to, you start to be like, well, that one doesn't have to work for anything. That one just has things handed to her. What you're not seeing is all of the little things that they put out there. Okay. Um, you get back, you get back what you give to others. Um, that whole saying, like, misery loves company. We all know that saying, misery loves company. Um, if you're surrounded by people that are always complaining and people that are very negative, it's going to bring you down. And we've all had that happen to us. There's not a person who will ever watch this video that can say, I have never been surrounded by negative people. Everybody is always positive and happy. It just doesn't happen that way. So when we talk about the law of compensation, one of the aspects of that is when people are miserable, you don't want them to bring you down. So you change the way that you react to that situation. You have to excuse me. I have to let my cat out. Yeah. Go. Drives me crazy. Excuse me. So you get back what you give. So, if you're with people who are just very negative and, bringing you down, you want to show them some positivity. Okay. And I'm not saying you need to be Miss Mary Sunshine 100% of the time. I don't know a single person who is. Life gets to us, and that's okay. What you just need to remember, what you need to see is when you start to realize life's kind of getting to me, take a step back and do something for yourself. I'm not the type of person to go out for a walk in the woods. I don't necessarily like being outside. I'm an indoor kid, but maybe I'm going to sit and watch some TV for a little bit, something that I enjoy, something to kind of just take me out of it. So misery loves company. If you're around those people who are just complaining and bringing you down, hi, Darlene, you want to take a step back, and you want to do something for you. Okay, that's self-care. I'm very big on self-care, and it doesn't matter what your self-care is, as long as you recognize that you need a little self-care. Okay. One of the things about the law of compensation is, like I said, you have to sow before you can reap. That can take a long time. Okay, it doesn't. You're going to start to notice if you start to change the way that you react to situations. You're going to start to notice little things are going to come back to you. And then as you are conscious about it, this has to be a conscious thing. As you're more conscious about it and waiting in line, one of the situations I can give you is last week I had gone to go get a smoothie, and the poor woman on the side of me had been standing in the pickup line for like 10 minutes. And so she got up to the front and she ordered, and the girl was like, oh, you have to order over there. So she got out and she got in line behind me, and I said, no, go before me. Like, I'm on vacation. I'm not going anywhere. She had scrubs on. She was clearly working. That wasn't a big deal to me. Go in front of me. I'm going to wait, an extra 6 minutes for my smoothie? I'm on vacation. And so when you start to be conscious of those things, that's not one of the things that most people, and I'm going to say most people, and I understand that here we kind of have a different mind frame. So I would venture to guess that more people here would be conscious of that and would allow that person to go. But for most people, when you're out, sometimes I can stand in a grocery line with 2 items, and you know, sometimes the person in front of me just looks at me like, oh, that's too bad. Yeah, it is. But it's not a big deal. Um, and so when things like that happen to me, I don't make a big deal about it. Um, I have to be very conscious not to make a big deal about it sometimes because we all have bad days, like I said. So as you start to be conscious of it, those things start to just sort of happen. They start to just be like second nature. Like, well, of course I'm going to let this woman who's wearing scrubs, who's obviously on break from the nursing home, go in front of me. I mean, that was, for me, a no-brainer. Um, and it's little things. You know, you see a mother struggling at the grocery store with a child who's screaming. Um, you know, and I'm sure a lot of you have been in that situation where you're standing in line at the grocery store and the person behind you has a child who's screaming and yelling and they want that piece of candy, and there's nothing you can do to talk a child out of that piece of candy. So maybe instead of being aggravated that this woman is behind you with a screaming child, maybe, you know, just give her a look of encouragement, you know, give her a smile. I mean, I'm sure most of us have been there. I've been in the store with my nieces and had meltdowns. It happens. We all know what that's like. So just encourage each other. You know, a smile can go a long way. And I'm sure you know when if you're having a tough day and someone gives you a random smile, you suddenly feel yourself shift a whole lot energetically, right? So it's those little things, okay? Um, so this has to be something that we start to consciously do. You have to consciously start to make those changes. You know, you see somebody, like I said, at the grocery store, maybe they have one or two items. You know, consciously let them go in front of you. You see a mother struggling at the grocery store, consciously smile. You know, an elderly person, I mean, give them a hand with their bags. Consciously, when you make those choices, everything about that starts to become second nature. And you're not even going to second guess it at a certain point. Um, and you want to do this as often as possible. And I can tell you that this has made a big difference. I've never been a lucky person as far as, you know, like winning things. And I've never been upset that I didn't win things. But actually the last two craft fairs that I did, I won two pairs of leggings, you know, and those aren't cheap leggings. That's why I don't buy them. But you consciously, as you're making those changes, things start to happen. Actually, at the last craft fair that I was at, I felt so bad. This girl wanted a certain type of bracelet to diffuse aromatherapy oils, and I did not have my box of large bracelets. I only had regular small bracelets. So there was a Young Living distributor who was on the side of me, and she had the same types of bracelets. So for me, you know, one of the girls tried on one of my smaller bracelets and it snapped. It happens. It was a no-brainer for me to go over and look at the other distributor and see if she had larger bracelets. Do you have larger bracelets? Because my bracelets are too small. That was a no-brainer, you know. And the girl went over and she was obviously much more comfortable with the larger bracelet because she had a larger wrist. I mean, it's $12. You know, it's not going to put me in a new tax bracket. It's those little things. And I won another pair of leggings, $25 leggings. Actually won two raffles that day. So you can kind of see how that, like, just, to me, it was a no-brainer. Like, the girl's got bigger bracelets. Go buy her bracelet, it's bigger. You know, and that's how the universe works. As you give, you get back. Which is probably why I didn't buy a pair of leggings earlier in the week and I bought a dress instead. So it's those little things. So consciously and as often as possible, these are the things that you want to really work on as far as if you're starting to work with the law of attraction. You absolutely cannot expect something from nothing. I mean, from what we're seeing here, you know, the law of attraction, the laws of the universe, they work with your thoughts, they work with your feelings, and everything works together. So while you may be speaking peace and love or whatever it is that you're speaking, if your thoughts are not there, they don't line up. So it's not going to fit. So you really have to work to change everything. And it's a lot of work. You don't have to do it all at once. But as you change little bits, you know, you'll start to see the puzzle line up a little bit better and a little bit cleaner. And then before you know it, your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings and everything sort of lines up, okay, if that makes sense. You can't demand respect if you don't respect yourself. That's a big one. You know, you see it a lot in work environments, actually, where, you know, people might say, well, management doesn't respect me. This person doesn't respect me. And as an outsider, you can probably see that that person is maybe not getting respect because they're not giving it. Okay, so I mean, this is not just about money. It's about, you know, feelings. It's about emotions. You want to treat others exactly how you want to be treated. You can't have love without self-love. So I know that's a big thing that we see a lot of is people, you know, when is this perfect person going to come in? You know, when am I going to be loved the way that I deserve to be loved? And you have to love yourself first. So you have to respect yourself, you have to love yourself, and then those things can come to you, you know. Gratitude lists are a big thing with the law of compensation. When I talk about a gratitude list, and I regularly ask people to do gratitude lists, you know, write down 5 things that you're grateful for right now. I think, and then like the next day it's write down 6 things and then write down 7 things. And at first, when I first did this, you know, and I kind of like got to like the 3rd or the 4th day and I was like, darn it, I'm really just grateful for this cup of coffee. And that's what matters. You know, there are people who cannot afford to go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks and buy a nice coffee every day. And I'm really grateful that if I want to have a nice coffee, I can get a nice coffee. So when you're doing gratitude lists and you're working on being thankful for things, yeah, it's your home. Yes, it's your family. Yes, it's your children. Yes, it's your job. It's all of those big things. But what we forget is the little things, you know, coffee. And I've been grateful for coffee some days all day. You know, chocolate. It's the little things, a moment of silence. Silence is golden where I work. So if it's at the end of the day when it's really, really quiet, I'm just so thankful that it's so quiet. And it's those things that really matter. It's being thankful for those things that bring more abundance to you, okay? And then the other thing about the law of compensation is when you're given a task or you're given something to do, whether it's at work or helping a family member or whatever it is, you just always want to do your best. You know, you want to give what you have to give. Whether it's a conversation with a friend or a conversation with a family member, you want to give them your attention. You know, you don't want, and I know we talked about how, excuse me, you know, people can be negative Nellies, and you don't want to bog yourself down with it, but you want to be there for that person. You know, you want to understand where they're coming from. You want to empathize a little bit, which brings us back to the first law, the law of oneness, where we talked about kind of like expanding our empathy for other people, and putting ourselves in their shoes and recognizing that there's no difference between us. So when we're working on the law of compensation, you want to keep that in mind. So yes, Cousin Susie may be driving you crazy again, complaining about her kids, but maybe Cousin Susie doesn't have anybody else to talk to. And so maybe you're kind of her outlet. And so you put up your protection boundaries and you put up your protection bubble, and you just kind of let Susie talk and get it out. And Susie's going to feel better, and you're not going to absorb all of Susie's energy because you're in a good place and you've given Susie your attention. I know that's something that, I mean, we all do. I know there are people that I talk to some days, and I'm just like, here we go. I gotta take a deep breath, and I gotta get ready for this. But when you do that and you're there for that person's gonna be there for you when you have a hard time. So if you're the type of person who just kind of like, yep, 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 no, yep, 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 and you don't really engage in that conversation and empathize, when you really need someone to talk to because something, horrible or bad has happened to you and you're struggling, you want that person to do the same for you, right? So you want to give what you wish to get, in all interactions. And you just want to do your best. I mean, I'm never going to be 100% perfect. No one's ever going to be perfect. So you just do your best. Maybe you have a day when you just say, you know what, I can't talk to you right now. I got to call you back. That's okay. All right? So I think the most important thing with the law of compensation is just recognizing that it's not just money. It's not just winning LuLaRoe leggings. It's really about treating others how you want to be treated, and getting those blessings back. And yes, sometimes those blessings are winning a pair of $25 leggings, but sometimes it's just knowing that you have people that you can call and talk to and kind of release your own junk, because we all have to do that. And just really being grateful for those little things that you have. That cup of coffee, maybe next week I won't be able to buy a cup of coffee. And that'll be okay, but it won't wreck my day. There are other things that might wreck my day, but just being grateful for what you have when you have it. So I think the most important thing about this, I think our homework for this, I really would like for you guys to keep some sort of gratitude list. And honestly, on the worst days of my life, a gratitude list has really just turned it around. And again, you start with 3 things. 3 things today that you're grateful for. 4 things tomorrow. And maybe on Friday you've only got 1 thing that you're grateful for. But at least you have 1 thing. It doesn't have to be 100,000 things. So gratitude list, I think, for this week. Let's do some homework. And just remember that you just do your best. Okay, do your best every day. That's all anybody can ask for, is that at the end of the day, you did your best. Remember that you have to show yourself the things that you want to receive from the universe. So you're not going to get respect if you don't have respect for yourself. You're not going to get love if you don't have love for yourself. There was one other thing. Be conscious about doing small things for people. Conscious about how you interact with people. Mostly conscious about how you interact with strangers. Because strangers, we don't think anything about yelling at a stranger who just cut us off in traffic. We'd never ever even think twice about that. But that's one of the things, is how we interact with strangers. You see someone in a store, maybe they've got a screaming child, just offer a little bit of kindness and a little respect to that person. That can really go a long way. Yeah, the driving in traffic, I have a hard time with that I'll be honest. I don't say good words when I'm driving. My mother's here. She can tell you I don't say good words when I'm driving, but neither does she. So I think that that's it for today, unless anybody has any questions. Just kind of as we go along, these do get a little repetitive, and they just have very small differences. So the videos will get a little bit shorter. Hi, Carrie. So gratitude list, 3 things. Keep a journal. Be conscious about your experiences and your interactions, both with people in day-to-day life and also with strangers that you interact with. Consciously put forth that effort to do something different for someone or something nice. And then as you're consciously doing it, you'll see that it'll just become, it just becomes first nature. It's just kind of what you do. And that is really, really, really when you will start to see things sort of come in. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was last week, I was worried about my car. I did actually have to buy a car. But here's the thing. I went to a car dealership on Thursday morning, and I could have taken my car home that evening. So those are the things that happen. I mean, in the past, buying a car has been like a torturous experience. Going to this place, going to that place, checking this out. You know, you worry about financing. When I tell you, and I think 5 or 6 people told me that they felt that this experience was going to be very quick, within 24 hours I had a car that I could drive to work today, which is what I was worried about, getting to work. So when you really start to put these things into motion, within a matter of months, sometimes within a matter of weeks, you can really see things change for yourself. So you reap what you sow, and unfortunately, you have to sow before you can reap. Okay. All right. So I know some of you may have just joined us, but like I said, this was a short video because it was just a little difference from the law of cause and effect. So I'm going to end the video, and then it will be available to rewatch probably in just a few minutes. Okay. And then next week we will, I'm not sure which day next week, but we'll talk about the next law, which I don't have my notes, so I can't remember what it is. So we'll catch up next week. Okay. Good night, guys.